Brian, what impact has rising construction costs had on new development?
Well, I don't think it's just Gainesville alone. We see it in many markets right now. I see it in many markets. You know, the Architectural Institute put out some numbers recently where they said nationally on average that construction costs went up over 5% each year for the last 5 years. So annually, construction costs went up 5%. Now, what I like to do is I like to ask the question, did your rents go up 5%? And the answer invariably in most markets is no, our rents did not go up. And so then the question is, you know, where are, you know, these projects, you know, how are they getting done? Are they falling out? We are aware that there are a number of projects that are unable to get financing and unable to begin construction because of, you know, the financial parameters. At the same point, we also see, you know, some risks that are entering the equation. So if your construction costs are going up faster than your rents, you have to skinny up some of the other dynamics in some of the other areas. And for instance, you'll ask for more interest-only financing. You may stretch in some other areas, and we see that as, you know, one of the primary bank supervisors. You know, we're talking to the banks about, you know, that dynamic emerging. So I think to answer your question, you know, construction costs, you know, have risen, you know, significantly. Nationally, it's 5% a year for the last 5 years. In some markets, it's, you know, a factor of 2 or 3 times that. I mean, you look at Seattle, San Francisco, Miami, number of markets, and the construction costs are up double digits in the last year. So I think, you know, we have to be, you know, cognizant that that will potentially create, you know, a headwind for new development projects.
I know I saw, is Juan Segarra in here? Is he still here? Where are you? Will you stand up, tell us who you are, what you do, tell us about the construction costs that you're seeing, projects you're working on, your biggest dilemmas, et cetera.
Sure. I'm Juan Segarra. I'm owner of Foresight Construction Group. I'm in the commercial space, and we're headquartered here and have offices in 2 other markets. And so I get to see kind of what's happening more regionally. So we're in Tampa and we're in Jacksonville. Construction costs have continued to increase in all markets, and I think the challenge we have right now as an industry is labor wages continue to go up. And I was actually at another forum last week where we were trying to figure out, you know, if people are always looking at inflation as the economic indicator as to what's to come, and there's not a ton of inflation right now. What we're seeing in our industry, and it's continuing to grow, is that labor rates continue to skyrocket, right? And so an economist was speaking to stagnant wage growth, and I can speak for our industry. I'd love to hear from Domenic. I mean, I haven't seen wage stagnation in the construction industry in any of the markets we're in whatsoever. You know, we're all vying for the same talent coming out of schools, making significant money, and these are people that have very little value that they're adding right off coming off a degree. So it's interesting. We're seeing it continue to escalate. At one point, the discussions were around tariffs, and so price of materials starting to escalate, and we saw a spike at the time, and then it normalized. So it's something to keep an eye on. I think inflation will eventually show up. I know we're seeing it in our industry, and I don't know the correlation between supply, demand, both in the residential space and the commercial space. And so I think for Gainesville, we see a lot of new projects, and we work a lot with the university, but we see a lot of projects coming down the pipe in the residential and the commercial space, just at UF, not to mention all the other projects, the multifamily projects that you mentioned. And so, you know, the talent pool, the lack of trade workers in our market, that's not specific to our market. That's an industry nationwide issue. And so that continues to drive costs upwards. And so where that will lead in the next 5 to 10 years, I'm not sure. But I think that's definitely a discussion around what what that does to create inflation in the real estate.
Yeah, Dominic. Anything you can add to that? You concur?
No, absolutely concur. I think you covered it well. So the only thing I can say is to your young children that are thinking about what they want to do for a living, you might want to think about the construction industry, because fairly soon, never mind PhDs, those salaries might be replacing the MDs. So keep that in mind.